Okay, so here we go again for the last topic of module number 8 in Philippine politics and governance. So this will be the last module for the first quarter. So this will be the continuation of the evolution of the Philippine politics, government, and governance. So medyo mahaba to kasi sa dulo nito is meron siyang paliwanag din patungkol sa 1987 Constitution which is the present Philippine politics and governance today. So let's start now. So naputol tayo nung nakaraan sa part ni na Emilio Aguinaldo during the Spanish colonial rule in the Philippines. But now, the part 2 will focus on the first Philippine Republic under the American rule. So, ito ay more on the American period na. So, American colonial rule, we all know na nasakop tayo ng Americans matapos nilang matalo ang Spain during the American-Spanish War. No? And after that, syempre sinakop na nila ang Pilipinas and the Americans started a government in the Philippines. So syempre with the administered by the President of the United States no, through the military. And nagkaroon ng iba't ibang system pagdating sa government. Nagkaroon ng military governor, nagkaroon ng para siyang Spanish din siya pero ang nag-govern dito is more on the President of the United States. So under the American regime in the Philippines, so nagkaroon, dyan umusbong yung executive, legislative, and judicial powers. No? And kung sa Spain, King of Spain yung nag-uutos, dito naman, no, pinapacify as province yung Philippines ng mga Amerikano. Pero sila ay syempre uh, nag-refuse kasi gusto nila maging yung independent. So malalaman nyo yan sa dulo. And hindi pa nakontent ang mga Amerikano, so nagpadala sila ng iba't ibang mission. So these missions are known as the Sherman and the Top Commission. So the first commission is known as the Sherman Commission noong March 1899. So ano ba ang patungkol ba saan ang mission ng Sherman Commission? So it recommended that US enforce its sovereignty over the entire territory. So gustong ipaglaban ng mga Amerikano na matapos silang sakupin ang Pilipinas, meron din silang karapatan na magkaroon ng soberanya o kalayaan na gamitin ang mga resources here in the Philippines. While the Top Commission on March 1900s, ang mission naman ito is to establish a civil government, like a permanent government here in the Philippines. No, syempre, with the participants of the Filipinos, no? Para ito yung training ground nila, yung Top Commission under the civil government in the Philippines for self-governance to train the Filipino people. Para siyang hakbang. Para na rin maging ng Philippine ang independence. And ayun na nga, ang civil government. So March 1902, nag-start na sila magtatag ng mga batas para maihanda ang Pilipinas no, para sa paggawa ng isang gobyerno na magiging hakbang para matrain ang mga Pilipino. So July 4, 1901, the civil government was established in the Philippines. And pagkatapos ng pagtataguyod ng gobyerno sa Pilipinas, nagsunod-sunod na ang mga batas, no, ang legislatura. So July 1, 1902, nandiyan ang Philippine Bill of 1902, kung saan ito ay nagtatalaga ng Bill of Rights for the Filipinos. So, doon natin na-adapt yung Bill of Rights. So, sa kasalukuyan natin sa ating Constitution, meron tayong Article 3 Bill of Rights, no, which is framed under the American government. So, doon nag-start ang Bill of Rights for the Filipinos. And under this law, the Philippine Bill of 1902, dito nag-start na magkaroon ng pwesto or ng participation ang mga Pilipino when it comes to appointing commissioners to the US Congress. So nagkaroon ng representative ang Pilipinas sa gobyerno kasama ang mga Amerikano. And this is ito yung magiging hakbang para ma-establish ang Philippine Assembly. No, to be elected by Filipinos, no, para restoration of peace, the vote, right to suffrage or the right to vote. No, so this is the start of building executive, legislative, and judicial department under the American regime in the Philippines. And ito na nga, First Philippine Assembly. So parang ito yung naghai ng konstitusyon, sino-sino ang mamamahala, no, sa gobyerno, legislatura, ekutibo, no, at sa hukom. So July 30, 1907, the First Philippine Assembly happened in the Philippines. So nagkaroon ng mga iba't ibang party list, ng parties to be elected, and Philippine Assembly, kung ang American regime, Philippine Assembly served as the lower house. So ano ba yung lower house natin yun? Lower house natin yun is the House of Representatives. So ang katumbas dun sa American regime in the Philippines, Philippine Assembly is the lower house, while the Philippine Commission is the upper house, which is it is the Senate. No? So the Congress, there's the Senate, and the House of Representatives. And aside from Philippine Bill of 1902, there's the Jones Law of 1916, for which according to this law, that it signaled the American to fulfill their promise to help the Philippines attain independence as soon as a stable government was in place. So tatandaan niya, no? Pag sinabing Jones Law, ang pinaka-keywords natin dito are as soon as a stable government was in place. And Jones Law, this is the main foundation of the three branches of the government in the Philippines, the executive, legislative, and the judiciary. And under this law, so ayun na nga, nagkaroon na tayo ng specification pagdating sa mga branches. So executive, uh, the Governor General sent by the US government, appointed by the President, no, siya yung magiging uh, mamamahala sa executive. While the judiciary, syempre, nandiyan ang Supreme Courts and the lower courts na nandiyan din yung participation ng mga Filipinos and the Americans. So, magkahalo sila. And the Jones Law, no, kung ang Philippine Bill of 1902, ito yung parang step step to fulfill the Bill of Rights. Ang Jones Law, ito na mismo yung nagtatalaga. Or this is the ang pinaka-highlight ng Jones Law is yung Bill of Rights, no? So, Bill of Rights, alam naman natin, kasama din ang Philippine Senate, yung binagin ko sa inyo na Philippine Senate, dito na umusbong ang legislature. No? Napalitan ng Philippine Senate ang Philippine Commission. So, Philippine Senate became the upper house and House of Representatives became the lower house. So, hanggang ngayon, nakikita pa rin natin yan sa system of government in our Congress. And na-adopt din ng Filipinos ang Bill of Rights, as what I said earlier, that Bill of Rights of Filipinos composed of freedom of speech, no? Nagkaroon tayo ng freedom of the press, freedom from legal search, assemble to the redress of grievances and other rights. So, syempre, ang pinaka-main point is to develop a democratic country. So, sa Amerika nanggaling ang Bill of Rights for Filipinos as we framed in our 1987 Philippine Constitution today. And ito na nga, after that, so nagkakaroon na tayo ng unti-unting hakbang para ang Pilipinos ay magkaroon ng self-independence when it comes to government or the self-governance. So nagkaroon ng mga mission ulit. So these were called the independence missions. No, the first and second missions failed. No? Ang nagtagumpay lang doon ay yung pangatlong mission, which is the OSROX mission. So OSROX, short for Sergio Osmeña and Manuel Rojas. So, I don't know if you're familiar with Sergio Osmeña in the 50 peso bill and Manuel Rojas in the 100 peso bill. So, they are the proponent of this OSROX mission. No? This is to, able to persuade several groups in the American Congress to grant the Philippine independence. So, para mabigyan na ng kalayaan ang Pilipinas, no, to have a self-governance. And aside from that, also during the missions, no, there's Hair Hose Cutting Act, no, which provide at the end of a 10-year Commonwealth period. So this is just a training ground for the Filipinos to gain the independence. No, that law. But Manuel L. Quezon, no, I don't know familiar with Manuel L. Quezon, the first one in 20 peso bill, no, kasi sa sa politika dito nag-start yung na politika na yung batas. So, syempre, kung gusto mo na mapasikat ka sa batas, ikaw yung mismo nagawa, ikaw yung author. So, syempre si Manuel L. Quezon, kinontra niya yung hair hose cutting. No, gusto niyang palitan yung mga provisions, no? Gusto niyang palitan yung mga nilalaman ng batas. So, syempre, political interest, personal interest, Manuel L. Quezon rejected hair hose cutting uh, act. So, kasi sabi niya, hindi daw ito magandang batas. kailangan baguhin ang provision, no? He really worked for this law to be rejected and changed. Anong nangyari, napalitan niya yung Hair Hose Cutting Act, naging Tidings McDuffie Act, no, under his success. So, Manure has no Tidings McDuffie Act. No, ito na mismo yung nag-lead to the 10-year period for Commonwealth in the Philippines para matapos na yung regime ng American para magsarili na ng sariling gobyerno ang Pilipinas. So during the May 14, 1935, no, the Constitution, nagkaroon na ng sariling Constitution. The 1935 Constitution under the American regime. And this Constitution granted, no, the Americans please, no, nagkaroon ng parity rights. No, dapat magkaroon din ng parity rights na we have an equal opportunity to exploit to the country's natural resources. No, so parang ito ay very discriminating, it is not equal, inequality. No, dayuhan ay magkakaroon ng interest, magkakaroon ng uh, kahati sa mga natural resources in the Philippines. So this was very contradicted during the time parity rights. Sarili mong bansa, kukuha na ng ibang dayuhan. So yun yung kanilang argue pagdating dito sa parity rights. And nagkaroon na nga, umusbong na after the 1935 Constitution, so the Commonwealth Era. So sino pa mga ba ang maging president? No, so Manuel Quezon inaugurated November 15, 1935, the president of the Commonwealth Era. So ito yung mga hakbang para magtayo na ng sariling gobyerno ang Pilipinas. Pero syempre hindi pa rin sila nilubayan ng American. So Commonwealth Era became the transitional government preparatory to the resumption of Philippine independence. So hindi pa talaga ito yung pinaka uh, nilubayan na ng Amerikano ang Pilipino sa pagsasarili sa sariling gobyerno. So ito pa rin, meron pa rin silang gabay. And, na 1935, ano natin, bigla nang pumasok sa eksena ang mga Hapon. Hapon. Excuse me. So, during the 1941, nagkaroon na ng ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig, no, when the Japanese bombed the American in Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. No, siguro mga Hapones, no, ang mga routan fleets ng mga Amerikano. No? So nagkaroon na ng World War II and the Japanese started to invade the Philippines, occupied most part of the Luzon, and nagtayo na sila ng gobyerno here in the Philippines, no? Named as the Central Administrative Organization. So dati kasi nagkaroon ng gusto ng isang bansa na mapalawig ang kanyang teritoryo, no, na lumawak ang teritoryo sa buong mundo. So Japan is one of that. So tinawag niya itong Greater East Asia o Prosperity Sphere. No? So that's the aim of the Japanese. And tapos sa American rule, no? Ito kasi yung Japanese era, saglit lang siya, 3 to 4 years, no? So ibalik din sa mga Pilipino. Matapos matalo ng mga Amerikano. And this was the start of the Second Republic under the Japanese rule. And during this time, nagkakaroon tayo ng puppet government. The Japanese government, no, kunyari Pilipino yung mga namumuno pero kaya puppet, diba, pinapagalaw ng mga Hapon. So Jose P. Laurel became the Filipino to have became the president during the Second Republic under the Japanese. And habang naman ang mga Hapon ay nananamantala sa Pilipinas, si Manuel L. Quezon ay hindi pa rin tumigil sa pag-oorganisa ng kanyang Commonwealth government no habang nasa US. So patuloy pa rin ang pakikipaglaban ng mga Pilipino. But there's General Douglas MacArthur, be familiar with this, no? I shall return and Leyte, no, began his leadership and offensive to against the Japan after the death of Quezon. So pinaglaban ni MacArthur ang pagpupinili ng mga Amerikano at Pilipino, pinaalis ang mga Hapones. So October 23, 1944, MacArthur established Commonwealth in the country and became the military administration after the Japanese finally defeated in the Philippines. So natalo na ang mga Hapon, bumalik ngayon itong si Osmeña at binigay ulit sa kanya ang gobyerno. So siya yung naging second president of the Commonwealth government here in the Philippines. Nabalik na sa mga Pilipino. And natapos na. nagsimula na ngayon ang Republican years. So, Republican years until the present. So, let's see. So, the Third Republic, no, ito na, napasinayaan na ang finally, ang Philippine independence on July 4, 1946. And Manuel A. Rojas became the first president of the Third Republic in the Philippines. No? So, Manuel Rojas, siyempre meron pa rin yung konting pangialam ng mga Amerikano. But after that, the Philippines is now free to handle for self-governance. And fast forward tayo, no? Simula ito na ang uh, the pinnacle or the peak during the changes in the government, the 1971 Constitutional Convention, the Declaration of Martial Law, and the 1973 Constitution, super under the Marcos regime in the Philippines. So, September 21, 1972, we know that this was the declaration of the martial law under President Marcos Proclamation number 1081, known as the martial law in the Philippines, wherein Marcos became a dictator, no, as a president, no, assumed that he has the power of executive, legislative, and judicial power. So everything, lahat ng powers, the three branches, Marcos handled those powers. And the military courts took the place of regular courts. So nandiyan ang militar, kaya martial law. And doon na nga similang ang 1973 Constitution. So, nagkaroon di ba ng ng 1899 Malolos Constitution, nagkaroon ng 1935 Constitution during the Manuel Quezon, and 1943 nagkaroon ng Constitution under Jose P. Laurel, 1943, and now as it changes Marcos 1973 Constitution, no, kung saan natanggal ngayon ang Bill of Rights. Maraming natanggal karapatan. Kaya naging ang sistema ng gobyerno natin ay modified parliamentary system. Parliamentary system wherein Marcos exercised both executive and legislative powers and introduced several amendments, no, saan pwede doon ma-extend ang termino ng isang presidente until martial law have been needed. So, ganun binago ni Marcos ang sistema ng gobyerno sa Pilipinas during that time under the power of martial law. And, aside from that, maraming nawala sa karapatan ng mga Pilipino. So, everything was in the hand of Marcos. At pati ang mga political party list, no, ay na-disappear. And ang natira na lamang ay kilusang bagong lipunan. Ito yung partido ni Marcos became the dictator. So, siya talaga umahawak sa gobyerno. And dito na nga, nawala ang ating basic freedoms during that time. Disappear ang freedom of press, academic freedom, human rights. That's the most special rights na nawala noong time na yon. And the accountability of public officials and the military. So, umusbong na ang mga kalaban ni Marcos, no? The democracy, no? There's Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino, no? But he was assassinated in August 21, 1983 in the known as the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. So doon umusbong ang democracy in the Philippines. There's a rally, mass actions para papabayin si Marcos sa kanyang pwesto. Kasi nga, hindi na rin maganda yung labi ng ekonomiya that time. Marami ng utang ang Pilipinas. Ang ekonomiya ay bumabagsak na. And also, nilihim din yun yung health ni Marcos, kung saan mahina na siya that time, no, pero hindi niya pa ina-announce sa public. And this the changes of constitution. So dati, no, yun yung nadagdag ngayon no? When we go to the second quarter, malalaman nyo ngayon yung mga provisions, changes of different constitutions, kung ano yung mga dagdag. So, the health of the president should be announced in public. So, syempre, para malaman natin what was the, how is the health of the president, no? Meron pa ba siyang kakayahan na mamuno sa Pilipinas? Meron pa ba siyang kakayahan na gampanan ng kanyang tungkulin bilang presidente ng Pilipinas? So, malalaman natin yan sa susunod na quarter. So, yun yung mga nawala during the martial law. And, syempre, umusbong na ang demokrasya. Napatay si Ninoy Aquino. Here's, pumasok sa eksena si Cory Aquino, kanyang asawa. So, there's the 1986 snap election and the People Power One or the EDSA Revolution. So, nagkaroon ng snap election. May times na sa panig ni Marcos, siya yung nanalo. panig naman ni Cory Aquino siya yung nanalo. So that's a snap election kasi mabilisan lang yun, no? Nung nag-declare si Marcos ng election, nagpatawag, kiniklaim niya na siya yung nanalo as president. Pero sa kabila naman, si Cory, siya daw yung nanalo. So, pero ang mas kinalala dito is, Cory Aquino kasi nga, grabe na yung regime ni Marcos that time. How many years? Almost 20 years of uh, participating in the government, no? Pinahaba ng martial law. And there's EDSA revolution. Ito na yung nagpabagsak kay Marcos. So, there's a civil disobedience. Ibig sabihin nun, uh, after the national movement for pre-elections na April dineklara si Cory, and February 25, 1986, ay na nga ang People Power Revolution 1, si EDSA, kung saan si Marcos ay napatalsik at lumipad papuntang Amerika. And nabago na ngayon ang 1973 Constitution, which is napalitan ng 1987 Constitution. So yun yung ating kasalukuyan, yun ang ating present Constitution, the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So ayun na, nabago ang Constitution, nabalik ulit ang mga karapatan ng mga tao, kung ano yung mga natanggal during the martial law, 1973 Constitution, bumalik ang three branches of government, executive, legislative, and judiciary branches. And let's focus now to the features of the 1987 Philippine Constitution. So this is just a brief salient feature. So you're be familiar with this one. So under the 1987 Constitution, di ba executive, legislative, and judiciary. So sila, walang mataas sa kanila. Sa tatlong walang mas mataas. So they have the equal uh, rights, no? Pwedeng i-check yung isa kung ito ba ay nagkakaroon ng anomalya, kaya may sistema ng check and balance. So, the three branches are balanced with each other, wala mas mataas. And under the 1987 Constitution, no, the President has only 6 years in one term. So, President Duterte started in 2016, will be ended in on 2022. So, 6 years lang yung termino ng isang Pangulo under the 1987 Constitution. The second one. So I know that you're familiar with the Commission on Appointments. No? You're familiar with Gina Lopez. No? Ang Commission of Appointments, ito yung nag-approve and disapprove. No, kung ikaw ba ay uh, pwede na maupo bilang isang secretary ng department. So, the Department of Environmental and Natural Resources rejected Gina Lopez. No? So, sila yung nagdesisyon sa mga cabinet members, Secretary of Health, Secretary of Education, Secretary of Public Works and Highways, and different secretaries sa iba't ibang department. So that's nagkaroon na ng para mapalawag yung participation ng tao, pinalawak na yung kanilang karapatan, no, when it comes to sa paglilitis, no, sa mambabatas. So there's a commission of appointments. The third one, dati di ba parang basta-basta lang under Marcos, so martial law. Very clear the Philippines under martial law, etc. etc. But now, mahirap yan bago ma-achieve, no? Because there's the Congress. Kailangan nyo na ma-approve ng Congress kapag ang presidente ay gustong magkaroon ng martial law. So, ano ba yung mga kailangan, no? Parang characteristics para pwede ka sa martial law. Sa giyera, may giyera sa Pilipinas, war, terrorism, no? So that's the salient features ng martial law para ma-approve mo to. Pero mahirap mo yun kasi nga ang Congress, bago approve yan, nandiyan ang Congress. No? And, so judiciary, sabi ko nga sa inyo, lahat sila may karapatan na check and balance. Wala mas mataas, meron silang sariling sistema. So there's the judiciary. No, i-appoint niya ng presidente ang mga napupusuan. No, sinala to ng mga judiciary para maging Chief Justice, para maging Associate Justice under the Supreme Court. Matatalakay natin to sa second quarter. And the Senate, kailangan nilang ng hearing, kailangan nila ng ratification, no? Lalo na pagdating sa budget, no, the budget gagamitin sa isang taon, especially international treaties, no, lalo na sa mga executive branch. So, ibang bansa, nagkaroon ng independent independent foreign policy, no? And ito na ang one of the features, no, maaaring ma-impeach. No? Meron lang tayong limang tao na pwedeng i-impeach. No, makikita niyo yan sa article, I think that's article 11, no, the accountability of public officials. No, pwede mag-impeach. No, pwede lang i-impeach ay ang president, vice president, members of the Supreme Court, and the members of the constitutional commissions. No, so sila yung pwede mong impeach. At nakalimutan natin ang ombudsman. So, lima yan. No? President, Vice President, members of the Supreme Court, the Constitutional Commissions, and the Ombudsman. So, magdi-discuss natin yan sa second quarter lahat. Kung ano yung member ng Constitutional Commissions, ano yung mga katangian ng President, ng Vice President, ng Supreme Court, ng Ombudsman. So, magdi-discuss natin yan doon. And recall by voters of local chief executives. So, nagkaroon na ng karapatan na bumoto or marinig ang tinig ng mga mamamayan. Halimbawa, may isang corrupt na official, governor or mayor. No? Gusto nilang palitan. So, there's a vote or what we call recall na pwede na ipa-impeach yung governor or the mayor na nagkaroon ng corruption or ng anomalya sa kanilang termino. So, recall. That's what we call recall. Impeach ng mga official under local government, no, with the bridge of the people. So ganun ka different yung yung pagkakaiba ng konstitusyon ng Pilipinas sa mga nakaraan, no. Mula sa pinakaumpisa kay Aguinaldo, sa Datu, sa dulo hanggang ngayon, no, Marcos, Japanese era. So ganun nag-evolve ang Philippine politics. So makikita niyo yung pagkakaiba-iba. Nadadagdagan, natututo tayo, may nakukuha tayong doon natin adapt or na-frame natin yung batas hanggang sa ginamit natin sa kasalukuyan. So, ganun ang evolution of the Philippine politics, government, and governance. And so, I hope na marami kayo natutunan from the start of the first quarter of this video tutorials. And I hope madala nyo ito hanggang sa dulo. So, thank you so much for listening. And this will be the end of Module 8 and the fourth quarter.